Imagine, just for a second, that you're standing at a super busy city crosswalk. The noise of the traffic, people talking, and then boom, time just completely freezes. Everything stops. And as you're looking around in this weird, suspended silence, you look across the street and see two exact, identical versions of yourself, just walking away in opposite directions. Pretty chilling, right? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into, literally, the ultimate what-if of human existence. We are unpacking the mind-bending reality of the multiverse theory.
So what if you chose differently? It's a deeply personal question, isn't it? I mean, right now, as you and I are going through this explainer together, there might be another version of you who decided to skip it. Or maybe another version of you who picked a completely different career path 5 years ago. Maybe one who married someone else. Or, crazy as it sounds, a version of you who was never even born. We all do this, right? We all have those late-night thoughts wondering how one tiny single choice could have just completely rerouted our entire lives.
Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, this is just pure sci-fi, this is straight out of a comic book movie. But here's the thing, it's not. According to some of the most serious, heavily debated theories in modern physics, every single one of those possibilities could absolutely be real. Not in your head, not in a movie, but literally happening right now in an entirely different universe.
All right, let's break it down. Section 1, the quantum coin flip.
To even wrap our heads around how multiple universes could exist, we gotta start small, like super small. Think about flipping a coin. In our everyday normal reality, it lands on heads or it lands on tails. Simple, right? One thing happens, the other doesn't. We're used to thinking of normal stuff, normal particles, like tiny solid little balls that have one fixed outcome, just like that coin. But when you zoom all the way down to the quantum level, the rules of reality basically go out the window. At the tiniest microscopic scales, particles don't act like solid objects at all. They act like waves of probability. Meaning, until you actually measure them, they exist in multiple possible states at the exact same time. And this isn't just some wild guess. This incredibly strange behavior has been proven in labs over and over again. But here is the million-dollar question that has physicists completely divided. What actually happens to all those other possibilities when we finally measure a particle and that wave of probability collapses into a single outcome? Well, back in 1957, a physicist named Hugh Everett proposed an idea that was just absolutely unbelievable. It's called the many worlds interpretation. He basically suggested that those other possibilities, they don't just magically disappear. Instead, they all happen. Every single one of them. They just happen in different universes.
Which brings us to Section 2. Infinite branches of reality.
Okay, picture a really boring, everyday choice you made this morning. Let's say you were debating between a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. You went with the coffee, right? Well, under the many worlds interpretation, at the precise split second you made that choice, a whole new universe branched off where you picked the tea. Now, take that one tiny branch and multiply it by every decision you've ever made, every single conversation you've ever had, every near-miss car accident, every opportunity you took or chickened out on, every single second of your existence. The universe isn't just branching once a year or once a day. It is branching constantly. We're talking about an impossibly massive tree of realities expanding forever at a speed that our human brains literally cannot even comprehend.
And because of this never-ending, infinite branching, there are countless totally different paths your life is taking right now. So in one universe, those choices led you to become a doctor. In another, you're struggling to make it as a musician. In one reality, you randomly packed up and moved across the globe. And in another, you decided you were never, ever going to leave your hometown. There are versions of your life playing out right now that are so wildly different you wouldn't even recognize yourself.
Think about it this way. If every single possibility actually exists, then somewhere out there is the perfect you, a version of you who aced every test, seized every single opportunity, and is incredibly rich, healthy, and just ridiculously happy. But, you know, the multiverse doesn't just filter for the good stuff. It's a package deal. So there also has to be a tragic you, a version who failed out of school, lost the people they love way too early, or maybe never even got to achieve a single dream. The multiverse contains the absolute highest highs and the absolute lowest lows, the beautiful and the tragic. And according to this theory, they are all equally real. This brings us to a slightly heavier part of our explainer, Section 3. Who are you really?
When you really sit with this idea, when you think about these infinite, constantly branching versions of yourself scattered out there in the cosmos, it forces you to stop and ask a pretty terrifying, deeply philosophical question.
If millions or infinite versions of you are out there living every possible life, then who are you, really? What actually makes you, you? Is it just your memories? Is it your physical body? Is it the sum of your decisions, or just this one specific random path you happen to be on? I mean, do this thought experiment with me. What if you met an exact replica of yourself? Same voice, same childhood memories, but their life took a totally different turn 5 years ago. Would they still be you? Or are they just a stranger wearing your face? It really makes you wonder if our identity isn't some fixed permanent thing, but something that's just constantly being rewritten, second by second.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Section 4, tuning into other frequencies. So, all this naturally leads to a really tantalizing thought. If these other universes and these alternate versions of us are really out there, is there any way we can interact with them? Let's look at something almost all of us have experienced to try and unpack this. Déjà vu. You know that super weird, totally fleeting feeling where you're absolutely positive you've lived a specific moment before? Now, let's be responsible here. Science clearly understands déjà vu as just a memory processing glitch inside the brain, and honestly, there is a ton of hard biological evidence to back that up.
But what if we just allow ourselves to play what if for a second? Could that deeply bizarre feeling of déjà vu actually be a symptom of another version of you in a neighboring branch of reality, going through the exact same motion at the exact same time? Now, let me be 100% clear, there is zero scientific evidence for this. None. Zero. But it is such a cool thought experiment, isn't it? And I think it perfectly captures why the idea of the multiverse just completely hooks our imagination. So, scientifically speaking, why can't we just hop over and visit these other branches? Well, according to the many worlds interpretation, these universes aren't physically far away like another planet. They're separated by quantum states. Think of it exactly like a car radio. There are dozens of stations existing all around you right now, all broadcasting music at the same time. But your radio, you, can only tune into one frequency at a time. Listening to your favorite station doesn't destroy the classical station next to it on the dial. You just can't hear them both at once. If realities are like frequencies, they can totally sit right on top of each other without ever interacting. But of course, physicists love to push the envelope, which leads to this absolutely wild speculative question. What if these realities briefly bumped into each other? Some thinkers have explored ideas totally outside the many worlds framework about colliding universes. If two realities literally brushed against each other, what would we even see? Would history suddenly rewrite itself? Would thousands of people suddenly remember events differently? Would whole civilizations just vanish into thin air? Obviously, there is no proof this has ever happened, but just picturing it is a great reminder of how wonderfully weird and mysterious our reality still is.
Now, as incredibly fun as it is to get lost in these infinite branching timelines, we do need to ground ourselves back in the actual science for a second. The many worlds interpretation is, at the end of the day, just that, an interpretation. It is not an established, proven fact. The reason scientists are still aggressively debating this today is because, right now, it gives us the exact same experimental predictions as a bunch of other quantum theories. Modern physics just hasn't figured out a way to definitively prove whether we are alone in the multiverse or not.
Which brings us to our final takeaway, Section 5, the reality you control. So after all of that, where does this completely mind-bending journey through quantum physics leave us? We've looked at infinite branches, we've weighed our absolute best and worst possible lives, and we've totally questioned what makes us who we are. Let's bring it all back down to earth, because honestly, whether a multiverse exists out there or not, it doesn't change your day-to-day life. The version of you living right here, right now, in this specific universe is literally the only one you have any real control over. The choices you make today, the big ones and the tiny ones, are actively shaping the one and only life you will ever get to directly experience. Look, maybe somewhere out there an alternate you made a totally different decision. But they aren't here. They aren't the one listening to this explainer. You are.
You are sitting right at the center of your very own unfolding reality. You are carving out your unique, singular path through an ocean of quantum possibilities with every passing second. So, as you step away from this explainer and go back to your everyday life, I want to leave you with one final, powerful question to think about. What choice will you make next?